Mr. Force 96 here with another video review. This time we have the Spider-Man Homecoming Marvel Legends series 3¼ inch 2-pack featuring the movie Spider-Man and the movie Vulture. This is quite exciting. This pack always looked quite interesting to me. I am happy that they are continuing doing movie figures in the 3¼ inch scale and making them actually well articulated again, and in these 2-packs, so it is quite exciting. As you can see, I do have another set in the back there. I was actually able to find these on retail, and I bought a few of them, some to sell. So that's why I have another one in package. I don't plan on keeping this one though, but very nice. As you can see, they look very cool in package, and I was very lucky to find them. These really aren't out much, so that's quite exciting. And they had 4 of these packs, and they had only 1 of the Shocker and Spider-Man pack. I didn't pick up the Shocker and Spider-Man pack, but possibly that one might be a little rare, considering it probably is packed less. I doubt just more people bought that one. So yeah, so let's get started. So the 2 figures that you have in this pack are obviously Spider-Man and Vulture. Let's talk about Spider-Man, what I would consider the less interesting of the 2. However, still very cool. As you can see, this is a completely new mold as well, which is nice. As far as the sculpting goes, his webbing is all sculpted there. The black highlights, they seem to be painted in the torso section. However, in the arms, they are sculpted in there, which is very cool. And then he has all the lines sculpted into the blue sections. It's, unmistakably a movie design and unmistakably, a redesigned figure. It's not a previous Spider-Man that's been repainted, which is usually the case in these, like, 2-packs. The one that comes with Shocker, I believe, is just a repainted one. So, yeah, it's nice to see that it is an original sculpt. His head sculpt looks quite nice and very much like the movie. He has the larger black outline of the eyes with the smaller kind of white bit going on there. As far as his articulation goes, it's pretty good. He's got a ball hinge neck, so he can look up very far. He can look down extremely far, and then side to side, of course. He has ball hinge shoulders, pretty standard. Hinge swivel elbows. The hinges feel a bit small. It's almost kind of scary to move them, just like the pegs feel like they're not super strong there. So it is a little worrisome when you try to bend his arm. No wrist articulation, which is definitely a shame, especially with this hand, because you obviously want to get him in the proper shooting poses. However, it is positioned pretty nicely compared to where the hinge is, so you can get him in natural looking web shooting positions. He has a ball jointed upper torso, which is pretty nice. It goes forward and back a decent amount, and it does tilt to the side, which is great. And then, of course, a full swivel. Just ball jointed hips. Wish that there was a thigh swivel or something there, but as you can see, you can manipulate them quite far, which is great. Double hinge knees. The hinges on the knees are pretty, like rubbery, which is definitely annoying. Kind of makes it hard to get him to stand perfect because of the kind of rubbery knees there. But that's pretty common for this scale, so it's not very much out of the ordinary. Then you have hinge ankles, which, as you can see, can go both ways extremely far, and then has a pivot as well. So his articulation is very good. Really, the only place that it's lacking is the wrists, and then some of the joint materials are the only issues that I have with it, with some of the pieces being a little rubbery. But again, that is fairly common for this scale, so it's not a big deal. But overall, a nice figure. Just that on its own, though, I wouldn't really purchase. I don't have much of a need for it. It's Vulture that was the big draw for me with this set. I'm a huge fan of villains. I'm a huge fan of Marvel villains, and I'm even a bigger fan of Spider-Man villains. So this is just the best of all the worlds for me, which is why I'm super stoked for Vulture in this movie. I can't wait to get the 6-inch, Build-A-Figure of him. It's going to be amazing. But overall, this is definitely one that I wanted to get for sure. Going over the actual figure before we go on to his wings, starting off with his helmet. This is the disappointing part. His helmet actually is kind of neat looking, but it's not accurate to the movie in the slightest. Like, I don't know if this was based on a concept art that just never was used, or how they based this helmet sculpt on, because it's not accurate to the movie. In the movie, I mean, it's completely different, but the visor is a slightly different shape. It has more of like a beak section here. It doesn't square off. It kind of comes to a point, and then the shape of the head is less boxy and it's more rounded. So it's not an accurate design. Also, there's a hose on one side, completely off design. So I again don't know why this is so off. My only guess is that it was based on a concept picture that didn't end up being used. The rest of him, though, looks quite nice. I think that his torso here, he looks a bit wide, which is kind of annoying. Like from the side, he looks awesome, no issue there, but he's a bit wide from the front, which is a problem that I've been noticing with a lot of the 3¼ figures nowadays. Nowadays, they seem to have very wide torsos, so I wish that was slimmed down a bit. His arms look quite nice. You can see the gloves there. He has one arm that's open, and then one hand that's open, and then one fist, which looks good, and his collar piece looks nice as well. I would check the paint on the collar piece. I've seen some blotches on the collars on a few of these, so definitely take a look at that. The legs are very nice. I love the mechanical style legs here. This silver is great. I love the silver that's on the side of his leg and his shirt. I just wish that was the silver that was on the legs. That would have been super cool. And then the feet are super big and super aggressive. This is something that from at least the photos, I feel like the Build-A-Figure got wrong. The Build-A-Figure's feet are not this large compared to its body. And I think that the aggressive large feet are so important because they're just such a cool part of the character's design. Going over his wings, as you can see, they're not accurate size-wise. His wings should be much bigger. However, you get the picture. I understand why they didn't make them accurate. The figure would be way too big if they did to actually be in this $20 set. But I still do like the wings. They sit quite far off of his back, which is a little annoying, but that's very much a small thing. And they do have a bit of a curvature to them at the ends, which I like a lot, actually. I think that really is nice that they're not completely just, straight. And then the detailing on them is really nice. There's lots of good detail throughout the wing sets, and I love the colors that they use. The green is just a perfect shade of green for this, and I think it looks wonderful. And then the gray it's not like the gray that they used on the legs, which is a very pale kind of plastic gray. This is much darker, almost like a gunmetal gray, which looks very cool. So I like the wings a lot, even though they're not accurate. I just wish that they would sculpt the propellers. They just left those propellers out completely, which is definitely a shame. And then the fact that it's not the right size isn't a big issue for me. And I just found this out just yesterday night, even though I've had this for a couple days, but he actually has hinges on the wings, which is nice. And they work together, so if you move one down, they both move down, which is kind of nice. Not an extreme amount of articulation, but hey, something is definitely worth it, which is nice. Ball jointed head. The head can look up quite far. It doesn't really look down, which is definitely a shame if you have him like stepping on Spider-Man, where you'd want him to like look down at him. You can't do that, which is super disappointing. Ball hinge shoulders, hinge swivel elbows. The hinges go a little bit less than 90 degrees, but still pretty decent. Ball jointed hips, unfortunately, they are hindered by these little pieces here. That is definitely a shame. I'd almost consider customizing these to get them out of the way. But still, he can kick up a decent amount still, and he can go to the side a fair amount. Double hinge knees, which work excellent. And then the ankles are spectacular. Huge bend there. Huge one there, and then a full pivot. I mean, I'm hoping that the Build-A-Figure 6-inch Vulture has as good as foot articulation as this 3¼ one does, because it's really quite amazing. But overall, I like this pack a lot. My only issues with it would be some of the rubbery joints on Spider-Man, and the fact that the head sculpt on the Vulture isn't accurate. But other than that, it's a great pack, and I definitely think that it's worth the money, because if you think about it, for Civil War, we were getting packs like this with the 3¼ sets, which came with the character and then some accessory. One of them being Falcon, which was the Falcon figure, and then his accessory was his wings. You are getting basically more plastic with this Vulture, and you're getting a Spider-Man figure for the same price as that one Falcon figure cost. So this is a much better deal. They've obviously realized that people aren't willing to pay $20 for a 3¼ figure that just comes with wings. So that's why they are including it in this 2-pack. And I think that it's a solid figure. I am very happy to get a well-articulated and pretty nicely sculpted 3¼ figures for the movie, considering for a long time they really haven't been producing movie figures, or at least the movie figures that they have been producing are like 5 points of articulation. So this is much better than your average 3¼ movie Marvel figure. So quite happy with this pack. I wouldn't mind another one with, maybe Spider-Man's homemade costume and Shocker. That would be super cool. Or if they did like an updated version of Vulture that had a more accurate head sculpt or more accurate helmet and a Michael Keaton head sculpt, that would be really great, and things like that. So I doubt that they will do that though, but that would be kind of neat. This is a pretty nice pack though. I'd say it's worth the $20. I doubt that this will be too hard to find once it becomes more available though, so you could probably wait for this to go on a bit of a sale. I don't think it's going to be hard to get going forward. So there you go, that's my review of the Marvel Legends 3¼ inch 2-pack featuring Spider-Man from Spider-Man Homecoming and Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. Let me know what you guys think of these figures, and thanks so much for watching.